Hello, critics, non-critics, and friends. Welcome to the Film Optix podcast, where we take a glance into blockbusters, indie films, and everything in between. I'm your host, Chrisitan, and I'm joined by my co-host / my good friend, Devin. And today, we're here to give our thoughts and reflections on Stranger Things 4 Volume 2. But we won't be heading into the Upside Down alone. Joining us on our journey is special guest from the Chatter After and the Amateur Otaku podcast, Mike Thomas. And before we begin today's episode, you can listen to our podcast on platforms around the internet. That includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. And if you are a new or seasoned listener to the show, follow us on Instagram and follow us on Twitter at FilmOptix, or email us at FilmOptix, that is Optix with an X, at filmoptix@gmail.com for any movie-related questions. Gentlemen, how are you doing today on this fine Sunday?
Yeah, it was a great weekend overall.
Mike, how you been, man? It's great to have you back on the show. You're back for Volume 2. You were here for Volume 1. Unfortunately, Jayla was not able to.
She's in the Upside Down.
She is in the Upside Down. We cannot reach Jayla right now. We have no contact with her whatsoever.
You know, we didn't know what her favorite song was. I think that's the major problem here. We couldn't save her from Vecna's curse.
Yeah.
I'm good though, guys. Like that might have been the most traumatic finale I have seen in a long time.
I agree. I like I said, we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, Mike. I did not check my phone at all. I did not check the progress bar. I know people are going to. It's completely natural, especially watching it for the first time. But I was just like immersed. I'm like, I just want this thing to take me away. And I just had such a blast with it. And I was like, this is fantastic. It is absolutely amazing. But for all of you listeners out there, again, we are going to be talking about Stranger Things for Volume 2, which includes the last 2 episodes of Stranger Things 4. That is episode 8, the penultimate episode, which is titled Papa, and the episode 9, the finale, the 2.5 hour finale, which is titled The Piggyback, which makes a lot more sense now. So the way that we're going to do this for all of our amazing listeners out there, before we get into our review, we're going to be hitting our initial reactions of Volume 2 as a whole. And then we're going to be opening up the floor for spoilers, getting into some Easter eggs, maybe some trivia along the way, doing some final thoughts, and then some ratings here. So before we do, though, really quick, I don't think we had a chance to do this on the Volume 1, but Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself and the outlets that you're a part of.
Oh, yeah. I am a writer first and foremost. You can check out my work at collider.com, at wabamentertainment.com, or even my own blog, novicecinephile.com. You know, I don't consider myself like a film critic, because I'm just watching things because I enjoy it. And I love talking about it. I love getting on here with you guys and discussing what we loved or hated about Stranger Things. And that's kind of the space that I exist in, where it's not a lot of reviews. It's just more, we're going to examine why Running Up That Hill is now the greatest song of all time.
And making millions.
Yeah, you know, I'm just so happy that Kate Bush is able to get all the royalties. And I just appreciate how Netflix got the rights to that song and squeezed every dime out of it. No, but with the podcast, The Amateur Otaku, we review anime every single day almost over there. Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia, Spy Family is another review that we just had come out recently. And then the Chatter Afters, our movie podcast, which is kind of similar and different at the same time from Film Optix, simply because we are all over the place. We're not necessarily reviewing the latest thing that comes out. Like, instead of reviewing Stranger Things, we're reviewing Train to Busan in the next couple weeks. And so it's a nice variety, a nice mix, getting different guests on that show, talking about things old and new. Just appreciating cinema as a whole, whether it's the latest thing that comes out or something from 60 years ago. Like we just did Blade Runner for its 40th anniversary, which
oh my cool. Life. I think the farthest back we've gone for our franchise revisited is technically The Matrix, because we did a Matrix franchise revisited series that is on the show, on the podcast right now. We went through all 3 Matrix movies before Matrix 4. And yeah, I think that's like, quote unquote, like the oldest thing we've done.
Should have stopped after the first movie.
I mean, that's ideal, but you got to commit, right? You say you're revisiting The Matrix, you got to commit.
Yeah.
We've also done 4 in that.
Yeah. We also did like Harry Potter and Hunger Games. We definitely want to start that back up. Just trying to figure out what to do. It's just, we haven't, that's a good point. I never really realized that we haven't really reviewed too many older movies. And I think that's why I wanted to start the franchise revisited thing in the first place, to do some oldies but goodies, out there. Definitely we'll get around to them, but it's, the Harry Potter thing still took a lot out of me. Like that was,
it's a lot of work. Like if you guys are covering things as they come out, which is great. You guys are doing fantastic work. I wouldn't expect you to try and also go back into the archives and pull out something older.
Let's go watch Gone with the Wind and review that.
Yeah, we could. Or the Orange Clockwork. Whatever it's called.
Clockwork Orange, yeah.
Clockwork Orange, yeah. I've never even seen a single episode of that. I don't even know if that's a movie or not. I have no clue. But
it's a movie, yeah.
It's probably not for the best. But yeah, man, those are some really great outlets. I mean, Mike's been working probably harder than us. We kind of just, I don't know, mess around here and talk about these, the pop culture stuff. And we like to dip our toes into the indie film stuff as well. I've been meaning, Devin, I'm not sure if you watched Cha Cha Real Smooth, but definitely put that on your radar. It's very
I have
good.
not yet.
Fantastic movie. So,
I think it's in my top 3 right now. Sorry.
Oh, actually, it is also in my top 3 as well. Let me double check that really quick, because I'm not entirely. It's not. Wait, no, it's not my top 3. Ooh. No, it is. It's number 2. Everything Everywhere All at Once is number 1. Cha Cha Real Smooth, number 2, and Downton Abbey: A New Era is number 3, because I love it so much.
Man of culture, right there.
Thank you. But ladies and gentlemen out there, we're about to get into our Stranger Things Volume 2 review. So gentlemen, are you ready to go save Jayla from the upside down? I think we need to bring her back to the light. I feel like she needs some saving. So you guys ready to save, quote unquote, Jayla, and also talk about Stranger Things for Volume 2?
I think your favorite song might be Happy by Pharrell. We can try that.
It is not. But, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after this introduction to Stranger Things 4, Volume 2.
I know you're frightened. You're terribly frightened by what you've seen. But I'm not going to lie to you. Your friends are not prepared for this fight. Hawkins will fall.
My friends need me.
You're not ready.
Squeezing that song for everything it's worth.
Seriously, dude. The
trailer, everything.
And it still gives me chills. Why does that work so much?
The audio mixing on that is fantastic, and I absolutely love it. I
feel so bad for those editors, because they had that trailer ready, and then everybody fell in love with the song. So they're like, yeah, you're going to have to squeeze this in there.
Yeah. I think they were still going to use Worlds Apart by Journey for Volume 2, and then they saw the success of Kate Bush. And not only that, I love how Netflix actually partnered with Spotify so that every person who has a Spotify account out there has their own tailored songs from Vecna that would quote unquote save them from Vecna, which is actually kind of cool. It's called the Upside Down Playlist, and it's about 50 songs. I don't know how they kind of went through the algorithm. I'm assuming of just like your most recent, but then again, I was listening to a few of these and I'm like, I haven't heard this in forever. And then my ears started
my
like,
list was pretty strange. My number one was a song that I've only listened to a few times.
Really? I would say so as well. I have a random Blink 182 song on there that I do not remember even listening to, not even once. But my number one is Green Green Dress, the bonus track from Tick Tick Boom.
Random.
I love that song so much. I mean, Andrew Garfield can sing his butt off.
Is that your Vecna song though? I mean,
I don't know what my Vecna song would be like. That's a good question, man. Like, I've gone through so many.
I mean, it's running up that hill for everybody now, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, that is also on my, it's also on my Upside Down playlist, but also Wake Up, Get Up, Get Out There from Persona 5 is on there. Gotta love it.
You won't believe what my song was, my number one. It was Silhouette from Naruto Shippuden.
Wow.
And I'm just like, I don't think I've heard this song in like 2 years. At minimum 2 years. Why is this going to save me from Vecna? And then I listened to it and I'm like, yeah, this will definitely save me from Vecna.
Yeah. Or like it's like listening to Numb with featuring Jay-Z from Linkin Park. That would get me out of there for sure. I'm like, oh, like my ears perk is like, thank you, you're fired through kind. I'm like, yes, let's go. So, ladies and gentlemen, yes, it's hilarious. I love seeing people's playlists from the Upside Down through Spotify. It's something really cool that they are able to incorporate. So I'm really enjoying that a lot. Like it's, man, oh man. But ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned before, we are here to talk about Stranger Things for Volume 2. So if you haven't seen anything, I mean, we are going to go over our initial reactions first, which is more of our non-spoiler section for everyone out there. But like I said before, we will be getting into spoilers and then Easter eggs. With a little trivia thrown in there from Devin. I believe he has a few things he wants to share his knowledge with everybody, and then final thoughts, and then our ratings. So the way this is going to go, like, again, if you haven't seen it, I know it's a tall order. It's Netflix had, I don't know if this was like their plan from the beginning, but all I'm saying is if it was week to week, they would have had a little bit more time to finish those, but it looks like they did pull through at the very end. A last minute change, if you will. But so we're going to get into our initial reactions here for Stranger Things 4 Volume 2. We're going to start with Mike so we can give his initial reactions, and then we'll go to Devin and then myself. So, Michael, what were your thoughts on this volume, this grand finale?
Yeah, so Volume 2 of Stranger Things, it met and exceeded my expectations because, Netflix gets you every single time where you can really love a show on Netflix, but then you watch it all at once and then it disappears from your memory. Only for when the show comes back, like, oh yeah, I forgot. I really like Stranger Things. I really like Cobra Kai. I really like Bridgerton. So it kind of like blanks out of your mind until the show comes back. So Stranger Things Part 1, as much as I loved it, after, about a month or so, I'm like, okay, I'm excited for this second volume, but I'm not entirely sure what to expect. Getting into it, like you said earlier, Christian, that runtime flies by. I did check my watch a couple times, but that's just the nature of sitting there for about 4, 5, 6 hours at a time. It's going to happen. But I just really appreciate how all of the stories all tied together, how it all came together and all came to a satisfying conclusion. I know I said in the first review that it was kind of a pacing issue having those three teams, but they pulled it off. They stuck the landing, so it all ended up working out. I thought it was almost perfect. There's a couple like minor gripes we could talk about in spoilers, but overall, I feel like it was pretty much a perfect ending.
All right. Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. It really is. When it comes to these big shows, we've kind of talked about it here on the podcast where it's hard to stick a landing with something that's so like just, bigger than itself. Like this is a show that has officially transcended TV. I mean, everyone has loved Stranger Things since it started hitting in 2016. I think I came in around season 2. Right before that hit, just to, I never really watched it before and people kept talking about it. I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And, I just ended up loving it. And like you said, Mike, it really sucks that we have these, these amazing shows like this and like Umbrella Academy. I love Umbrella Academy, but it's like everything's happening all at once and it's hard to keep track, but that's just my little 2 cents there. But Devin,
I'm glad you brought up Umbrella Academy because I just wanted to plead Netflix to give them like a quarter of the budget that Stranger Things gets for CGI. Like just give them some help, please.
I mean, the 4th season is supposed to be the final season. It's supposed to be the final one to just,
give them that Stranger Things CGI. They deserve it.
Yeah.
What other show on Netflix would even require that budget besides like Avatar: The Last Airbender after Stranger Things?
Ooh, Avatar. I was gonna say maybe either Witcher if it can rebound from season 2, but hey, I mean a lot of people don't like season 2 of Stranger Things all that much. I mean I love it, but it's just that one episode where 11 goes off on her own. But I would say either The Witcher. Maybe Arcane, I don't really know, or like Shadow and Bone, because that is another major like fantasy series that they're working with. What else? I know One Piece, maybe. I would say so.
I try not to remember One Piece is happening, but
Yeah. I mean, we'll see if it suffers the same fate as Cowboy Bebop, but those would probably be a few on my side. But I'll pass it over to Devin so he can give his initial reactions for Stranger Things 4 Volume 2.
Yeah, I sat down Friday night at around 10 p.m., pushed play, and just powered through it. I just stayed up into the late depths of the nighttime and just thoroughly enjoyed everything. It's just wildly entertaining to watch. Like Christian mentioned, you just can't really look away. You're just so like entranced and you're just put into that world and you're just taken away. I took a couple bathroom breaks, but other than that, I didn't really check my watch or check how much time was left at any point except for pausing. It's just so crazy to see that it was a 2.5 hour finale, and it just did not feel like it was that long just because of how well they paced everything. There's definitely some issues I have towards the end. I feel like there's just something missing, but we can talk about that later. But I just love this season because it brought the series to a whole nother level that didn't know that. I think a lot of people didn't know that they were capable of reaching. Can't wait for season 5, although we will have to wait 2 years now.
I think so, or around, as long as it's not 3 years. Please Duffer Brothers, we don't need 3 year another 3 year wait. I can't do it.
Yeah, I mean everyone's running up that hill.
Everyone's running up that hill. As for my initial reactions, and I do agree with Devin saying, I think I know what he's alluding to. When we get into spoilers, we'll definitely talk about it. I think it is his biggest gripe of the of the penultimate of volume 2 as a whole. For me, I talked a lot about this yesterday on a Twitter space as well. I just like the penultimate episode, episode 8 was just a perfect setup. We see it, like it doesn't skip a beat. There is no like little time jump or anything. It's just the last 2 episodes need a little bit more work. And I totally understand that. I feel like they barely just made the deadline there, but they pulled it through.
The visuals were insane.
Yes,
they unbelievable.
Were. It was crazy. And
phenomenal.
I would like to, I kind of view this kind of like Harry Potter. Like the first 2 Harry Potter movies, they're very fun in a sense. And that's how I kind of view the first 3 seasons of Stranger Things. Like, you know, there are threats that are there, but, you know, these are kids, you know, just trying to be kids while all this is going on. But then it's like Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban, book 3. Everything takes like a super dark turn and you do not expect it whatsoever. And I feel like Stranger Things has done that and more because, you know, it's always been like that, you know, thriller, horror-esque type show where like it's like more like thriller suspenseful, but like season 4 is like straight horror. You know, there's a lot of Nightmare on Elm Street vibes, especially with Vecna. And
Halloween towards the end there.
Yeah, and Halloween as well. It's just, it really, like you said, Devin, they really took this show to a whole nother level. And I think with season 5, like they cannot stop. But I do agree. Please give a quarter of the budget.
Yeah, just give them some help. Because I mean, we both love Umbrella Academy, but that's their biggest weakness is they don't get this budget that Stranger Things has.
So I haven't watched Umbrella Academy, but like when Christian says it's slightly better than the CW's, I'm just like, that's not a good pitch. That means they need some serious help.
Yeah, well, okay. We were talking about it beforehand. That was just the closest analogy I could make. I mean, the CGI in Umbrella Academy isn't terrible, but like it is definitely better than everything's better than the CW, I guess you could say.
Yes, they were recently purchased for free. That's just how bad they were.
75%. 75%. What was it, Nexus or something like that? I can't remember.
I would have given them $5 if they really were going to go out for free.
It's like,
you
know
all
what?
that debt though.
Exactly. True. He's like, you guys deserve this. I'm going to give you a $5 bill. How does that sound?
Take it to Wendy's.
Exactly. $5, that's 5 McChickens at McDonald's. You can get a lot with $5 at McDonald's or Wendy's or Server Boy Pizza, bro.
How much was that pizza?
That pizza was $5 and some change. I bought 2 of them.
That's actually not bad.
It wasn't bad. For all the listeners out there, if you don't know, I know we're going off a little bit of a beaten path here, but
it's still on topic.
I think it's still on topic.
Somehow it's still on topic.
Yeah.
So they're, I'm not sure if they did this with the Eggos. I don't think they knew how big the show was going to be, but for the Server Boy Pizza with Argyle in season 4, you know, we worked at the Server Boy shop. If you go to your local Walmart in the frozen pizza section, there are 4 flavors of the Stranger Things Server Boy's Pizza that they're running as a promotion. It is hand-tossed dough, and there's, like I said, there's 4 flavors. There's the pineapple jalapenos. It's more like mild jalapenos, though. There's the standard pepperoni, the 3-meat pizza, which I think comes with sausage, pepperoni, and ham. And then there's like the supreme pizza, which comes with like the vegetables, of course, and the black olives.
Don't deny until you try.
Don't deny until you try. But I just want to say really quick, pineapple does belong on pizza. And yeah, we're going to close that argument right then and there. But honestly, it really was, it was very good pizza. It takes about like maybe 20, 22 minutes. Pop it in the oven. I didn't think it was going to be as good as it was. I had like half of it yesterday. And I was like, you know what? This is not bad. Like, I mean, I don't want to make any comparisons, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good pizza. Like it really was. Like for it being a promotional, it's good as it's going to get, but it was not terrible at all. But back to my initial reaction. I guess we're still on topic as we said before. Is this Stranger Things for Volume 2 felt more like the hard turn that Prisoner of Azkaban introduced in Harry Potter, where everything is darker. And I don't think we knew how dark it was going to get. We just knew that Hopper was in Russia and he needed to get home. We didn't know too much else. But I also remember, I'm not sure if you guys remember this, when they introduced the villain of Vecna, everyone's like, oh, well, that's just Max. I mean, not Max, Billy. He's just, you know, in the Upside Down. I was like, I don't think they would go that route. Like, that would be pretty lame. But as it turned out, if you listen to our Volume 1 review, Vecna is the big baddie of this entire show. But overall, I really just love the last 2 episodes. Perfect penultimate episode for 11. getting the closure that she finally needs. And just moving on to the finale where it's this big battle of Hawkins and everything just feels so tense. And my stomach dropped a few times and I just had these goosebumps throughout the entire runtime, especially for the finale. It was just, I absolutely loved it. But I feel like we've talked about initial reactions here for a bit. So I feel like obviously we need to get into spoilers because that's why we're all here, right? So are you guys ready to go into spoilers here?
Let's do it. We're not running away.
Yes, we were not afraid. We were not afraid to take risks here.
There's no shame in running. 86, baby. 86, baby. It's my year. I was like, yes, Eddie, it's your year. So, ladies and gentlemen, really quick here before we get into our spoilers, we're going to give you one warning. Actually, we're going to give you two warnings. So that is your first warning for Stranger Things 4 Volume 2 again. That is your second warning for Stranger Things 4 Volume 2. So if you haven't watched it, understandably so, like we said before, it is a tall order, especially when two big episodes drop on the same day. If you haven't watched it, there is no shame. Just go watch it and then come back. Or you can watch the episode as you're listening to us as we unravel everything for you. So, during your little potty breaks and stuff, you can kind of like listen to us on the side. So that'd be pretty cool.
A little weird, but I'll allow it.
Feels weird, but I'll allow it. But yeah, so we are officially here in our spoiler section of Stranger Things 4 Volume 2. Kind of wanted just to open up the door here for you guys, I feel like we have to talk about the number one thing. And that is the deaths in this, in Volume 2, because the Duffer brothers confirmed that there were 5 deaths that were supposed to happen. The same amount of times that Max has dumped Lucas, according to him.
Dang, man.
He said, Max has dumped me 5 times. I was like, she took you back 5 times? 5? I don't think no, it's all right. But I guess, yeah. So let's talk about the deaths here with the spoilers. So according to the official death counts, Papa dies. Yes. Jason, the basketball player, dies. Eddie dies.
That's the big one.
That is the big one. Max as well.
Dies for 1 minute. 1 whole minute she's dead.
It counts, though.
It does count.
On a technicality.
I was talking to Devin beforehand, and I was like, I count it, but I don't at the same time because they did bring her back.
She's literally alive right now as we speak.
She's alive, but she's also in a coma, so.
She's a vegetable, but she's breathing.
Yeah. She's a carrot top. There you go.
Yeah.
But it is very odd because it's okay, so that was 4 people we actually just mentioned. We had Jason, Max, Papa, Eddie.
And also, did I also mention Vecna? I don't know that I would count Vecna. There's no body. I mean,
he's still alive. Will confirmed that he was still alive. So
yeah,
I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Devin?
So there's definitely not 5. I just feel like where did that number come from? Was it really the Duffer brothers that said 5? Because it's just not true.
If we count the Russian prison guards, the body count is way higher.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. How do you guys feel about the death situation? Because I believe Millie Bobby Brown was in an interview. I can't remember who it was from. It
was way before I think the first part of the season even came out.
Yeah,
she was warning us.
She was. She said that, she playfully called out like the Duffer brothers, saying that, there's too many characters and we need to start killing people off, and that they're too afraid to let anybody go. And we kind of saw that, especially, throughout the past seasons. I think it is just the number one issue with the show. And I feel like it might be due to ratings because, I mean, if Steve would have died, I don't know if people would have.
They were setting him up to die the whole episode. I don't understand why he's alive.
They really were.
He was talking about his future kids, his little nuggets. They were setting it up. It's like they backed out at the last second, it feels like.
His 6 nuggets, which mirrors the 6 kids in the main cast anyway. And it's like, he technically did have that family the last, 3 seasons. So it would have been a fitting end to Steve Harrington. He's my favorite character, so I wouldn't have wanted to see him die. But it felt really weird how they planted the seeds of like Steve dying or Nancy dying or Jonathan dying and then don't follow through with any of it. It's kind of strange. Like, I don't hate that there wasn't any big deaths. I think my issue is you tease it and then didn't follow through on it.
Much like Marvel has done in the past. It's the only issue because, I mean, 11 was my favorite character forever until, Max really just started growing on me in like season 2. I was like, wow, like I really just like her as a character. I love the relationship between her and Lucas, especially having like an interracial couple during the 80s, which wasn't as common, which is something I really, really appreciated. But I thought she was going to die. Like, we see, her eyes go dark, her bones start to crack.
Just that's what bothers me the most. It's like, imagine how impactful that would have been if she wasn't revived a minute later. Like, we'd be thinking about that for decades, I feel like. Just how powerful that was, because Lucas just freaking killed it in that scene. Oh my God. I didn't know he had that in him as an actor, to be honest with you, but he absolutely nailed it.
He did. It's so, like, I feel like with Max's death, because she was the final nail in the coffin in order to open up the portal from, I guess, the Upside Down and Hawkins are now becoming one entity. So but it's weird because I feel I'm going back and forth because at one point I kind of like how, it is realistic as in she barely made it out alive. I would have had more of an issue if she would have came out of this completely unscathed, maybe just like a sprained ankle or like an arm
like
and
Dustin.
just like a couple. Yeah, limping around. But it's weird because, like, obviously we can't see into the future. We don't know what's happening with season 5. And the Duffer brothers kind of confirmed that they have a plan for the final season, which is season 5. So we don't know what they're planning, but I will say they always pay things off because those letters still have yet to make a comeback. That's the only thing that was not addressed in season 4.
They could have had Lucas reading it in the 2 days later. Oh my God. It would have been so good.
But I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because this isn't the final season. So we don't know everything that's going to happen. They do know how to write these characters correctly. For the longest time, I thought, especially I think I said in our season or our volume 1 review of Stranger Things 4 that the Duffer brothers kind of rubbed themselves into a corner of like, okay, well, we quote unquote killed Hopper, but now we're like, oh, he's alive. I think them writing him back into the story I think they did a beautiful job of that, especially towards the end. I thought the reunion between 11 and Hopper was fantastic and so heartwarming. So I'm like, you know what? They did it. And I'm like, if they can do that, I feel like they are not going to mess up Max's character. I mean, whether she lives or dies, I feel like she is going to officially die because not only is she in a coma, both her arms and legs are broken. And I'm like 99% sure she is blind because that is what she was screaming to Lucas, saying that she couldn't see anything. And we saw that her eyes kind of had that clear overview to them, like kind of like that murky look to them. So I'm not entirely sure, but I've been talking here for a while. Mike, what are your thoughts on the deaths that happened in season 4?
The deaths are predictable. And on one hand, that's okay because they were still really effective. Like, again, I said these last 2 episodes were a near perfect conclusion to the story that they were telling. But when you look at Stranger Things as a whole, you look at what happens in season 2 with Bob. You look at what happens to Eddie. You look at you see what happens with
Alexi.
Billy. Like all of Alexi. All these semi-new or new characters are only introduced to die because we don't want to kill the main cast. And like I said in our earlier review, I think the main problem is they don't really want to kill the children. And I get it. We don't see kids die in mainstream media very often. So on one hand, that's fine. But on the other hand, it's like, well, then
you have plenty of adults to work with. Yeah.
Right. You have Robin, you have Hopper, you have Steve, you have Nancy. I feel like they could have pushed the story in that direction a little bit, especially when you have 3 of them getting choked out for what felt like an absurd amount of time.
That was really, really strange.
Like everyone was pinned down during that moment. And I'm like, this is where they lose. This is where they finally lose.
And it was great setup, like having 11 save everyone like that. It was phenomenal how they all, again, united front, 3 different battles happening, and they win. That's great. But it grabbed Robin first. You could say those 2-3 seconds she was pinned, she couldn't make it. You know, it's small moments like that. But again, I don't think death is the only way to establish stakes. I just feel like the problem is when you tease it and you don't follow through with it, that's when it becomes an issue. But I feel like, you know, Eddie's death was great. It was great for his character. It was a great conclusion to his character. It was especially him saving Dustin, because of course, Dustin, nobody wants anything bad to happen to that kid. So having that like big brother relationship throughout the entire season, and he makes that sacrifice play, is what we thought Jonathan was going to do for Will.
Or even Steve for Dustin too.
That would have been heartbreaking, having Steve die, saving Dustin. That probably would have been way more effective than Eddie's death, because we've been with Steve longer.
Yeah.
But I think overall, it accomplished what it needed to accomplish. It was just a little weird that you tease it and then everybody's just sitting there. Because at a certain point in one of our group chats, we were trying to figure out, okay, which 5 characters are most likely to die? And then you watch it happen. It's like, oh, so nobody important. Cool.
Yeah. It sucks. You're looking, like, I'm looking at the main, like the volume 1 poster, I guess you could say, right now. And it's like everyone minus Eddie is fine for the it's like 1.5 deaths because Max is, you know.
And it's like the big issue for me is that like having this large of a cast and like having them all survive, it has like a trickle down effect on all the storytelling, because the Duffer brothers are amazing at creating these characters and making us fall in love with them. But then as this volume 2 goes on, you realize, oh, they have to stay separated because there's just too many people. Like that's why they stay in their separate locations. I was kind of worried when they mentioned that. I was like, I love when they get together. Like the end of season 3, when they all meet up at the mall, it's the best moment of that season. But then you realize their hands are tied behind their back. They have to do this because there's literally 15 main characters. Like there's just, you can't work them all into the same room. It just doesn't work.
I feel like if you're not going to kill them, you can write them out of the story though, right? Like having Joyce take the Byers family in 11 out of Hawkins was the perfect way to write characters out of the story. And I know her taking 11 means they have to tie back in eventually, but that's just an easy way to remove characters from the story. It's like, okay, we're going to have a central group of like 7 of them instead of 15. Because half of them moved out of Hawkins because it's on fire.
Yeah.
You know, that would be logical, in my opinion. If you don't have the guts to kill him, and then you can have Steve pop up in a season finale or something and be like a great moment.
Yeah. And I kind of want to pivot towards what Devin was saying about, the main cast is separated. I did appreciate so much. I mean, I know we've been kind of talking about the issues of the deaths here and whatnot, but I really did appreciate how they were all able to fight Vecna separately. They were able to figure out ways, like, I mean, the California team, with Argyle not realizing that Surfer Boy Pizza expanded into Nevada, and we get a fantastic scene when he's talking to the other Surfer Boy guy. He's like, I would love to help out like a Surfer Boy like comrade. There's like big camaraderie in this Surfer Boy company. He's like, oh, but we just closed our kitchen like 5 minutes ago. So, and then Argyle is like, oh, we're not here for your delicious pies, man. I'm like, it's so perfect. Like, I loved Argyle. He was, and it's the way he was like measuring 11, like 11 has this plan. Well, everyone has a plan. The Hawkins team, they have this plan to lure out Vecna, in order for Max to kind of just do her thing, but it's so heartbreaking because, you know, you have Lucas trying to figure out, there could be somebody else, but not Max. And then Max brings up a really good point where she's like, if it's not me, it's just going to be some other like poor soul out there. So it's like, why put somebody, I think she said like, why put someone through that when they don't even know what's going on? When it's in like that's totally fair. But I really love how, 11 has this plan of trying to enter Max's mind the same way that Vecna does, because crazy enough, they are the same person in general. But I love how everything becomes full circle with Vecna, because for seasons 1, 2, and 3, there wasn't like a big baddie per se, but we learned that it was Vecna the entire time and how he manipulated the Mind Flayer, and we learned how and why 11 kind of was having her powers tested after her first introduction, or I guess her first encounter with Vecna. And then, she kind of goes into that like coma state, and then she loses her powers, and then they start to work back up again. And then that's when the kids come in, and then everything kind of kicks off. So I really love how they are able to fight Vecna remotely.
I'm still trying to figure out what impact the Hopper crew had on the fight, because it seemed like they lit the Demogorgons on fire, but I don't know if that directly helped the cause, because I feel like Vecna was already like under the control of 11 by that point.
So if I remember correctly, Hopper said that it's a hive mind, and so by dealing damage to the Demogorgon, it's weakening Vecna enough for 11 to take control.
Yeah, I understand that point, but I feel like, unless I'm misremembering, I feel like the scenes lined up to where they were flamethrowing the Demogorgons, but Vecna was already like up on that like post where 11 launched him, unless I don't remember that correctly. It's
a long finale. It's hard for me to piece it all together in sequence, so I get you.
No, and I think Devin brings up a really good point. This season was so big and so, just full of like all these epic moments that I think it does it does warrant a rewatch for sure. And I definitely I kind of want to start from the beginning and see how it, everything that I've known before, how I view it now, seeing season 4 instead of watching season 4 and then going back. So I really love how they were able to do that. I will say, between the Hopper crew, we finally get Hopper and Joyce, they're going to go on that date, and they start doing little, smoochy, kissy.
Some oddly placed sexual scenes, I would say, just kind of plopped in there.
Well, it's almost like Fear Street, how they were kind of just all coming together, and right before they were, what was it? Sarah Fear, like they're trying to figure out how to, corner these slashing monsters, and they kind of just have this quote unquote end of the world sex scene, or they all go to Pound Town or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it was almost like that. I mean, I did end up enjoying the Russian plot line towards the end, because I was really interested to see how they were going to get back to America. At first, I thought they were going to like open up a portal, and then poof, we're here in Hawkins. But I guess I love how everyone was remotely trying to help 11, because they were trying to fight the same battle at the same time in different places, while, trying to eliminate this threat.
They're working remotely just like the rest of America.
Stranger Things 4 COVID edition.
Yes.
It would have been really funny if like they saw a portal to the Upside Down and they just end up in the Upside Down with everybody else.
That would have been funny. Like, yeah, kind of like their own little underground, like inter-network connected infrastructure of using the underground to get back to America. But no, we did get the Russian plot line. I think it definitely paid off for sure, and I'm glad that it did. Like just overall, it was fantastic. But kind of wanted to pass it back over to you guys. So if there's anything that you wanted to mention that we haven't touched on yet, before we get into our I guess Easter eggs or trivia. I'm not sure if Devin has any trivia, but
I guess we should get a little bit more into Eddie's death scene or not even just the scene, but his death in general, because I feel like obviously Dustin is crushed by it, and Dustin and Eddie's uncle have that moment, which was really great towards the end. Mm-hmm. But I feel like nobody else mentions it, which is kind of strange.
Not even Mike, because they were friends at the beginning, right?
Yeah, like it's like they don't even tell each other that he's dead. Do they just know? I don't understand why they wouldn't give him like a little moment of silence or something.
Yeah, because I mean, we see it from the very first episode, which is the Hellfire Club, everything that's going on and how, they're scrambling to find like another party.
I mean, they're all friends. They all love Eddie, but I feel like none of them really cared at the end. It seemed like. And
also, I mean, Mike is. I mean, I like Mike as a character, and I was talking about this on Spaces yesterday with a few people. Somebody had mentioned that Mike is a better character with 11 because of their relationship. And I really do like how, Mike is a very dense person.
He's becoming a bit of a himbo.
A what?
A himbo.
What does that mean?
Male version of a bimbo. He's just there to be the love interest.
I see.
It's funny because that's kind of his character arc, right? Like, I don't know what I'm going to do when you don't need me anymore. And it's like, we can argue, Mike, that she hasn't needed you in 2 seasons and you're just kind of doing
Yep.
He said, wow. Shots fired. I mean,
it's the truth.
I mean, so what did you guys, I really wanted to touch on this with Will, the boy who's been through it all, there and back again, twice. But
that scene in the car was actually really heartbreaking because he's talking about 11, but it's really him projecting himself onto Mike. And that was heartbreaking.
Yeah, sure. And people were trying to like okay, like I understand Mike wasn't like the best friend, but they were kind of distant already because Mike was in Hawkins, Will and his family and 11 were out in California. And I don't think he would have noticed that Will was crying because he was kind of looking forward. And clearly this man, not Will, but Mike is obviously preoccupied with 11. And I also wanted to touch on within that scene when Will shows them the painting, which I thought was very beautiful. I know a lot of people thought it was going to be something else, but I really love how Will was... he's trying to, I'm not sure if he has a crush on Mike per se, or if he's just trying to tell Mike that he is gay.
Oh, he definitely does. He's in love, I feel like.
100%.
It's almost as if, when in season 3, when Robin was mad at Steve because we didn't know that Robin was gay at the time, but with the whole, I guess there was another girl that Steve was talking to, and Robin was jealous of Steve, but it wasn't because of Steve per se. It was because of the girl was giving more attention to Steve instead of her. And, we can kind of touch on her. There's a lot of love triangle, a lot of love stuff going on. And we have the whole, Jonathan and Nancy and Steve's situation, but
Jonathan is not looking good at the end. Are we okay? And then Nancy's like, yeah, sure.
I was like, they are not okay. But I really loved Will's. I mean, that performance in the van was amazing, and of course Jonathan picking up on that, and then that leading to them having the conversation in the pizza shop with the whole, pineapple pizza.
Such a good moment. I want to kind of skew towards the positive side because I know it's easy to talk about the issues you have with something, even though we've all said we really enjoyed this finale.
No, you're fine. No, yeah, I really want to dig into we have to talk about the bad and the good, but you can't, you got to take the bad with the good. So yeah, I definitely want to steer this into a positive.
Yeah. It's just, I know I'm speaking personally. It's easy to fall into the trap of, well, yeah, I love this thing, but I don't really like this one specific moment, and you end up harping on it way too long.
Yeah.
So I want to stay on, at least for me personally, I want to stay on a little more of a positive track. And yeah, that scene between Jonathan and Will is so great, and it just really highlights why we love this show, right? Seeing all of these relationships, all of them are interconnected, seeing the struggle that Will is going through. And it's something that you have felt for like the last 2 seasons now. And out of everything that happens, he can never really voice it. And that's what's really frustrating and heartbreaking. And that also leads into why Steve probably should have died, because he airs his feelings to Nancy, and then we just do nothing with it. Like, she's still with Jonathan. He's still hanging around. So I don't know.
He also lies to her, which is
Jonathan's
crazy.
Still taking shots at Steve, understandably.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, so I was also talking, like I said, I had like a 3-hour conversation about this on Twitter yesterday through Spaces, and I kind of brought up that I don't know when the transition, because in season 3, Will was all about, missing the old days, playing like Dungeons and Dragons, Nintendo, whatever it may be, with the bros, with the boys. And he didn't really want that to change. But of course, they were getting older from, middle school, junior high school, and now they're in high school. I was trying to figure out where the connection as to, has Will's character always been going that way to confess his feelings, or like, for him to be honest about himself and or confessing his feelings to Mike? I guess that kind of happened within the time. I guess there's a bit of a time jump between season 3 and season 4. I think it's like 7 or 8 months or something of that nature. So a lot of things
Joyce
probably
says
just
about 8 months.
About 8 months, yeah. So I mean, eight months is a long time. So you could have developed, a lot of development could have been happening there, and we're finally seeing it, for the first time. So I was trying to figure out if there were any signs, I guess, if for Will's crush on Mike prior to season 4.
I would say season 3, because you're talking about his whole thing is he wants to hang with the boys, right? And Mike is adamant about him having a girlfriend now, and some of the looks and some of the things that Will says to Mike in those moments at least had the audience questioning. It's like, is there something more going on with Will Byers that we don't know about? And I feel like this season just amps that up even more. And so I feel like the seeds were planted in season 3, and we're just kind of seeing the fruits of that sprout up here with this one, especially his conversation with Jonathan. I feel like pretty much confirms it, because it was basically Jonathan saying, hey, I'm not going to push you to say something or reveal something to me that you're not ready for, but I care about you no matter what. And remember, this is the 80s, so yeah.
Just a tip. I have a tip for maybe don't get bowl cuts from Joyce, and Mike might look at you differently. just throwing it out there.
I mean, people are saying that Mike was so down. Like, Mike is dense, but it's like he's also preoccupied with a lot of other stuff. So like the denseness of Mike in this season is completely warranted, because there's so much stuff going on. He's worried about, 11, and, Will, out of everything else that he may feel for Mike, he still wants, Mike to be happy, whether it's with him or with 11 or whoever else it may be. I really enjoy how I really like the painting. It was just a very nice callback, saying, oh, it was 11's idea, and, that Mike is the heart, which, again, yeah, that is true. And I really enjoyed the conversation or the speech that Mike gives to 11, because he was kind of distant when he was first hanging out with her. She's saying like, I love you. And then she's calling him out for not saying I love you. 11's like, listen, this is how it's going to be. When I say I love you, you say it back. But, I think he's finally starting to come into his own. It's just, this, we don't know what's happening in season 5. So it's like, I think the ending of season 4 was just, God, it was just amazing.
Yeah, I wanted to also mention how cool the fight scene was between Vecna and the adult trio at the end with all the flames. Cause usually it's so easy to mess up like fire and flames with CGI, like in movies and stuff. Cause sometimes you see it and it's like, all right, that looks really fake, but this looked amazing. Like when Vecna catches on fire and he's just walking around, it just looks so cool.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, and that's again all of it tying together beautifully. Like the score when that moment happens, how it folds. It's the Stranger Things score, but it's also blended with Running Up That Hill.
Yep. They added that in like within the past couple weeks.
But it was so effective too, right?
Yeah,
because
it worked.
It's also it's also one of the few times, I don't know if you guys have been really paying attention to this, but whenever we hear Running Up That Hill, it's because Max has the headphones on. But during the fight with, what's his name, Jason, I think, he crushes the Walkman. But then everybody else, as they're fighting Vecna, Running Up That Hill kicks in. It's like, that's the song that's saving them from Vecna. That's probably the song that will save all of them from Vecna. And it's just a really great moment, how it all kind of comes together like that.
Kate Bush, saving our lives.
Saving our lives one day at a time, running up that hill, saving lives since the 1980s. Devin, it like the fight between, and Nancy having the sawed-off shotgun was like fantastic. She's like, I'm pretty sure this is illegal. I'm like, yeah, that's illegal. It's a sawed-off shotgun. Well, the fight between, I feel like we have to talk about the fight between Eleven and Vecna, because that was perfect. I mean, Max, I gave her some points for trying to. She had that dagger or that spear.
She tried.
She tried.
It was an attempt.
She attempted the only way she knew how.
It's actually kind of funny to think about it, how it actually works when you're in your own mind. You would think maybe you could conjure up some things like Vecna does, because Vecna like can control everything and just bend it to his will. But you would think maybe Max could too. It is her own mind. I don't know how it works exactly.
She did have her own. She went to like her happy place, which I thought the exchange between her and Lucas was amazing, kind of showing that they are back on the right path, or at least going to be back on the right path with their whole little note exchanging. But, she went to her happy place. I think it was like the snowball dance or something in middle school, where she first kisses Lucas. He's like, oh, like, is this memory, like, am I in it? And
very presumptuous of you.
Very presumptuous.
Those character moments are so great.
Yeah, that scene between them was amazing.
It was. And oh my gosh, I didn't think that Lucas's sister was gonna die, but I thought she was gonna end up with a broken arm, because that basketball player like tackled her.
And she was held down for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I was like, nothing happened. I guess she's okay, but it is. I thought that was pretty interesting. But the fight between Vecna and 11, and of course, I mean, Nancy and the crew, she came out with that shotgun just rolling. I like how it wasn't just a 11 versus Vecna. It was essentially Vecna, the mind battle between, sorry, when I think mind battle, I think of the episode of South Park when they're doing the whole, but it was, I like how it was multiple teams facing Vecna at once. Obviously the Hawkins team facing the physical embodiment of Vecna, and then you had Max and 11, or just pretty much just 11, and the California team, thanks to the Surfer Boy pizzas.
I love how 11 piggybacks in. She's just like, I got here from a pizzeria's freezer. It's just like, what?
That was great. Like, Max is like holding her face. She's like, are you real? She's like, I'm real.
Great little moment there.
He's like, how did you get here? It's funny. It's so funny with 11, because she's always serious all the time. Like, Max is like, how'd you get here? And she just, with a straight face, she's like, I piggybacked here from a pizza, from like a pizza freezer, where they were. And then Max is like, what? Like, what? But she's stone cold serious. Like, I love it. Devin, did you have any trivia for us for season 4 that you were able to dig up?
Do you guys think the finale is the longest episode of television ever?
I want to say yes, because I don't know of any other long television series finales.
I don't think I've ever seen, at least, I've never seen a finale that has been almost 2.5 hours. So I would say so. but we'll see.
I imagine it is the longest like American episode ever, but the actual record is for a Turkish series called Brave and Beautiful. Their last episode was 159 minutes, which is 20 minutes longer.
Wow.
Oh.
Maybe we should start watching that one. Brush up on your Turkish.
Subtitles, baby.
We can also listen to the knockoff version, Stranger Blings.
Is that a thing?
No.
It is
it's
now.
not I guess so. Stranger Wings. It's like these.
Is that a spinoff from Surfer Boy's Pizzas?
You know
You get
what?
the Stranger Wings and the Surfer Boy Pizza.
That would be fantastic. There's like
We could do Stranger Things,
Stranger Things.
starring Chet Hanks.
Stranger Wings would be like the rival to Surfer Boy Pizza, where it's like, you know, this new wing spot comes into town, you know, on the West Coast, and they're taking all the Surfer Boy Pizza customers. So it's kind of
our
like
clientele, dude.
it's kind of like a Krusty Krab versus Chum Bucket type situation, but not really, because it's like then Argyle has to step up, and who does he get help from? Susie's sister that he is smitten about 100%. So I'm kind of disappointed we didn't get to see a little bit more of Susie, but as Mike has mentioned before, and Devin as well,
We did not need another main character up in here. We had the max capacity.
I mean, I love how they did the pit stop though. That was
Yeah.
fantastic. How they were able to, you know, put that into motion. But did you have any other trivia clips for us, Devin? Where's that being?
Well, we actually haven't even mentioned the Eddie scene where he's
that's right, we had that.
wailing on that guitar, because that might be one of the better scenes of the series. Like,
That will go down as the most iconic scene, probably, from the
Yeah.
entire
They were
show.
apparently he was actually playing the guitar there. Like, it was actually him.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that. It wasn't just like, you know, basically, oh, I'm just gonna move it. Like, you know, I'm like, oh, he's actually forming chords.
Because apparently in the original trailer for it, people were able to decipher what song he was playing based on the rhythm of the strumming he was doing on the guitar.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
As a guitarist, I appreciate that, because so often in movies and TV, they're just strumming away. And it's like, that hand placement will not play that chord. I'm sorry, you lost me.
Mike, you're speaking my language right now, because what it's like they're not even they're just holding it like
Yeah.
look at me playing the guitar. It's like that might work for like a sitcom, but this is Stranger Things. Like, no, you're gonna play like an actual song here. Like that was really sweet. But yeah, I think we should kind of talk. I mean, we've been kind of talking about everything else, but with Eddie's death, it was so just the fact that Dustin can even bring his body back was very heartbreaking. That, you know, the entire town thinks that, you know, like, oh, he's disappeared, but, you know, that nice moment that he has with Eddie's uncle. And Eddie's uncle, he seems kind of like a happy-go-lucky kind of guy. He's like, oh, you know, like, it is what it is. He's like, well, he'll turn up. But I really teared when Eddie was, you know, he's like, oh, he's talking to Dustin. He's like, I didn't run away this time, right? And he's like, no. He's like, you didn't run away this time. And then he's like, 86, man.
When he says, I love you.
That's hard.
Yeah, that whole that ad lib part. But I love it how it like it's full circle where he's like, you know, 86, baby. He's like, it was gonna be my year. I'm like, just the pause. Like, I can't.
It hurt.
Pause is like.
Like I mentioned before recording, like we only met this guy 10 hours ago, and he has this much of an impact. That just shows how good they are at character writing.
Yeah, you're totally right there, Devin, because you think about it, we can complain about, oh, whenever a new character is introduced, that's the one that gets killed off. But it gets you every single time, like without fail. Bob, Alexi, Eddie, you just heartbroken, especially this one, because each episode was longer. So we did end up spending more minutes with him overall than the other two. And then they just like twist the knife right there because you have Dustin go back in after him, seemingly like break his leg or at least have a really bad sprained ankle. So he's limping along. And it's like, don't die, Dustin. Otherwise, all of this would be for nothing.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of the tension comes from. And I think, again, that's just really strong writing. I feel like Stranger Things, the Duffer brothers, are one of the like few groups of writers, that can write so many characters, make them so great where everybody is connected to all of them. And now you have the problem of we have 20 characters and we don't know who to get rid of. That's rare. Occasionally you might have one standout, but they have a whole cast of standouts.
Yeah.
And that makes it kind of hard to juggle, but they did it successfully, I'd say.
Yeah, I definitely agree that it's so epic. Like I just want to start all the way over from episode 1 and just be immersed in it all together. Like I think what you mentioned earlier, Mike, where when these for season 5 is just there's a lot of questions left unanswered, which is supposed to happen, and from season to season. Like I said before, the letters that Max wrote, I'm really praying and hoping. I don't have too much of I don't want to be worried about it too much, but I'm confident that they will bring that up because I think she is actually going to die. And I feel like that is more of a realistic way for her to go out. Kind of 11, like restarting her heart, which it seems that that's what she did. But also I wanted to ask you guys, because 11 at the very end, she did not tell the Hawkins team what happened, because she walks in to the hospital after, Dustin tells them what happened to Max, and then 11 saying what happens. And I'm like, you were there. Why didn't you just tell them what happened?
Well, she knows if she tells anybody that they're going to try to because she's been like a experiment her whole life. I feel like somebody would try to use that revival ability and just use her for that.
Yeah, well, because this is the first time we've seen her not necessarily heal, but I'm assuming that she used her force powers to restart Max's heart.
She's like a Jedi Superman at this point, like just every power. She's gonna start flying next season. I'm calling it now. There's been a lot of mentions of her learning to fly, and I think it's actually gonna happen.
I mean, Vecna levitates people, so I don't think it's a stretch.
Yeah.
Well, even her 11 bringing down that military helicopter, that was such an amazing scene. And the fact that 11 gave Papa the coldest goodbye in the world, did not even stay with this man as he was passing, because she just doesn't care about him anymore. She was like, you're a monster. And, if you get in my way again, me trying to leave this facility, then, I'm going to kill you. But Papa was right. She was not ready because she didn't have help. But it's like, you can't wait around too long because it's, everything that's going on. But I just love how 11 gave Papa the coldest goodbyes, just goodbye, Papa. I was like, wow. And then she gently puts his hand on the ground and walks away.
So is the other guy still chained up in the basement there?
I don't think he's dead.
Yeah, that's another question people had, is what his
what happened
was.
to the rest of the Hellfire Club, the big guy and the others as well?
Well, they're demons, so they gotta
that whole thing. I thought that played out so perfectly well, because they didn't say the Hellfire Club. They didn't even mention that it was a D&D after school club. They're just it's the satanic cult called Hellfire, and it has the word hell in it. So that's what we're gonna do, and we're gonna take down this cult. It's I think I mentioned it in volume 1, where it's the equivalent of video games causing violence for children and school shootings and all that stuff. And I was like, no, but I thought it was played out perfectly. I mean, the a-hole jocks coming in and trying to, I don't know, Jason's mind was just so warped. It's Dustin and Lucas both told this man that Chrissy was buying drugs from Eddie, and he did not believe him whatsoever. I'm like, if multiple people are telling you this, you might want to bend your ear and figure out, listen what's going on.
That might be the best death, just because it just felt so needed. Just get him out of
Jason,
here.
I hated Jason more than Vecna.
That's what makes Jason such a great antagonist, though, right? Is because by all accounts, I can totally understand his line of thinking, right? Like, this club is called Hellfire. Their leader is Eddie, who's the prime suspect in murdering his girlfriend. And she is just like, it's not like she was stabbed or shot. You see how deformed these corpses look. And they're literally chasing Eddie. And you see one guy float up into the sky and the same thing happens to him. So it's like, yeah, I could totally see him thinking this is some sort of demonic cult thing. Him not listening to reason was really his downfall. But it's like, I think that's why he's such a great villain, especially for Lucas, because Lucas tears away from his friends and he sees the monster that this guy's become and just like the descent into madness. I think that's really a really cool point for Lucas's character, because when you think about it, Lucas has never really been the main focus of any like plot line through Stranger Things. So having him have that, him having to actually come to blows and protect Max from this guy, I thought was really well done. And, you know, Caleb just nailed it, like improvising the Erica help line that the writer said, which is like,
I saw that was
so
improvised.
refreshing.
No more than when in that moment I'm like, I really hope she's not like dead. But I was like, I wanted them to kill. I'm like, I want you guys to kill someone, but not Max. Why'd you have to do this to her? But it makes sense. And yeah, it was like bone chilling. I was how you really see how much Lucas actually cares about Max, because for a while there, it just, like I said before, I think he said it in like season 3, he's like, Max has dumped me 5 times. Like, they're going through their little bickering stage, but things are different now. They're a little bit older, but like you said, like, the group, he's kind of separated from the group, trying to find his own identity, and his real friends were there all along the entire time.
Once you start fighting Demogorgons and Demodogs together, you probably bonded for life.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Oh, man.
And the Mind Flare, which is back.
Yeah, the particles. I thought that was
end.
pretty interesting as well.
The Upside Down is leaking into the real world, and that's how we're setting up season 5. I also loved how the hell, like the cracks in Hawkins formed, how cool that looked. Just literally hell crossing into our world.
My jaw was on the floor. Like, I'm sitting there literally looking like an idiot with my mouth hanging open like this. All, oh my God, what happened?
Yeah.
The girl was like, Mommy, it's snowing. I'm like, that ain't snow. That ain't snow.
It's like when the Fire Nation shows up.
Yes, that was literally going through my mind. And I love how well, like, finally back in Hawkins, and he's like, Vecna's still alive. He's like, I can feel him, because, it's that connection that he's had with him this entire time, or, Will is marked, I guess you could say. But I love it how it's like he gets the bristles on the back of his neck, like the goosebumps, and then the theme song starts kicking in. I was like, let's go. Yes.
Could he be the antagonist of season 5? I've seen some theories that he could be because he's got all this bad stuff in him.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's just going to be like killing Vecna once and for all. But did you guys have any theories? Well, that's now that we are talking about theories. Did you guys have any theories about for season 5? For me, especially outside of Max dying, I think 11's going to die towards the end of the season. Kind of like a Daenerys Targaryen setup thing where, she's there the entire time and then dies during the season finale. So I think that's what's going to happen.
I gotta throw Steve in there just because they set it up so well this season. They have to.
I would hold off with the Steve thing, simply because they said they're making a spinoff. And who better to lead a spinoff show than Steve and Nancy?
Steve and Nancy, Scoops Ahoy on the case. Steve, Nancy, and Robin.
Exactly. Like that's the biggest thing. Like, I don't really have a lot of theories. I'm with you, Christian. I think 11 is probably done. She's probably gonna have to die destroying the Upside Down once and for all. Like, ideally, that would probably be where you would go with that story.
Or maybe not even die, but maybe just kind of stealing herself off into the Upside Down.
Right.
And becoming the new Vecna.
So like that's a great theory. As far as me, like I really just have questions. Like, what do we take another time jump? Like, are they going to be living with the Upside Down leaking into Hawkins for like a year or two?
I want the 90s.
Right. If we go to the 90s, are we now parodying Scream? Like, what are we doing there?
Yes, please.
Like they said, it's going to be a time jump. It can't be too long of a time jump. Like we see it towards the season finale that everyone is leaving Hawkins. So I feel like it is only safe to assume that the core group of characters are also going to be leaving Hawkins for a little bit and then coming back to finish the job.
When are they filming? That's what I'm wondering, because obviously these actors are aging very rapidly.
It is. I mean, kids grow up people grow up so fast, and it's crazy because you don't realize. I mean, even looking back at like season 1, like, yeah, they're babies, but it's like in your mind, like if you were there, like when it first, started airing, like that's kind of how they are in your mind. Much how it is like for me, like Harry Potter. It's like when I think Harry Potter, I think back to, I think of Daniel Radcliffe, but it's like, I think of him during that age, when he was like 10, 11, 12. But yeah, I think they're going to be in college, but then again, I don't know, because that's like a 4-year time jump because they're already freshmen in season 4. So there's no way, like, I mean, how long does Hawkins stay in this disarray state?
Well, they've already kind of like just brushed it up as an earthquake.
I mean, that's what they think it is.
Like the general population.
Did you see the flames in that earthquake?
Yeah, that's one earthquake you'll never see again. That's for sure.
It's like the bowels of hell are overflowing into Hawkins.
Even if I was just like a random like citizen of Hawkins and I saw that, I would have been like, okay, yeah, something else is happening here. I don't know what it is, but earthquakes do not make that kind of terror formation. Like with lava spitting or the fire. I was like, we're not, I mean, there's the Earth's core, but there's no way it's like, that deep. I really don't know, but I feel like they might do like the It, Stephen King's It type of thing where they come back to Hawkins and, because the place clearly is haunted because, I mean, now that Will's back, he said that he can feel him and, those goosebumps on the back of his neck again. I was like, oh man. But then again, maybe Will be cursed. Again, I'm not entirely sure. But wanted to kind of pass it over to you guys. I guess we'll get into our final thoughts and ratings. We've been talking about this for a while. I mean, great conversation all around. Like
a lot to discuss.
Yeah, a lot to discuss. So I guess we'll get into our final thoughts and then our ratings here. So I'll start with Mike and then I'll go to Devin and then I'll end up. So just go ahead and give your final thoughts along with your ratings.
Final thoughts, again, it's a fantastic conclusion to this incredible season of Stranger Things. I still have a few looming questions, like not major ones like what's going to happen with Vecna, but more like, is Joyce moving back to Hawkins? We don't address that. Like, are they just going to pack their bags and leave the next day? Like, it's minor stuff
Argyle
like that.
Coming along for the ride, or is he going back to Cali?
Exactly. Does Argyle go back home and just like, dudes, I had the craziest weekend ever? So
does Argyle have a family? Is he an alien? Like,
Argyle.
He's just all fun and an adventure.
Does he get fired for stealing the van for like 3 days?
Or using 600 pounds of salt?
He's just living the
or
life.
700 pounds of salt.
Right. Right, like it's minor stuff like that where I have a couple of questions. It's like, you can't wrap everything up. We would have gone into 3-hour territory if we try to answer all of that in one go.
They could have gone for the record, just 20 more minutes.
They really could have, honestly. Might as well. We were already there pretty much anyway. But you can you just play Kate Bush in its entirety, and that's another like 4 or 5 minutes right there.
Exactly.
Done. But yeah, like final thoughts, loved it. It's fantastic. It's everything I love about Stranger Things, right? I love the mystery, the intrigue. I love how they finally explain pretty much everything. Like we have a very good understanding of the Upside Down, of number 1, of Papa, of Vecna, of Eleven's powers and how she unlocks them. of the Demogorgons and all that stuff. I just think it all came together perfectly. I would rate part 2 probably a good like 9.5 out of 10. Just a few minor gripes here and there. But overall, like if I were to rank the entire season, this is probably my favorite season of Stranger Things. So probably give Stranger Things 4 overall 10 out of 10.
Oh, there we go. Devin, what about you?
Yeah, I definitely really loved the season. It like I mentioned in the beginning, it elevated the show to a place that I didn't really think was possible, but they really just stepped up their game and gave us an amazing story for this season. I do have my complaints about there being too many characters. I'm on Millie's side with that one. I feel like it kind of handicaps their storytelling to a degree, especially this season where they were forced to have everybody separated just because there's too many people. So hopefully season 5 we get some more axing off of people like Millie has requested. And overall I'd give this volume 2, I give it a solid 90. I feel like those 10 points are what I mentioned before, where it just feels like there's something missing, where I would have liked to see somebody more of relevancy dying than just somebody we met a few episodes ago. But other than that, a great season overall, and can't wait for season 5. Just have to wait multiple years.
Hopefully we only have to wait 2 years. Like no more than 2 years for this. Like please, Duffer Brothers, I'm begging you. As far as for me, for my final thoughts and ratings, my thoughts pretty much echo everyone else's. I mean, I'm giving this like a solid 95 out of 100, 9.5 out of 10, however you want to spell it. Overall, I think this is my favorite season so far because there's just so much depth to these characters, so many great character moments. And I think, them leaving us with a lot of questions is a sign of great writing, because for some reason, when people were watching Obi-Wan Kenobi, they thought that you were supposed to have all this information in the forefront. And I'm like, that's not how TV shows work, but it is what it is. I kind of wish that Netflix wasn't really like, dropping all these plot points left and right 24 hours after, dropping like almost 4 hours of extra content for volume 2. But overall, I love these characters. I can't wait to see what happens next. And like Devin said, I really hope it's not too long of a wait. I don't want them to rush anything, but I also don't want them to, I want them to take their time. But it seems that the Duffer Brothers have everything planned out. Apparently they already, pitched season 5, and I guess people were like crying and whatnot. It was this one article that I read a while back. I think Devin had sent it over to me, but just I don't know what's happening with Max. Like I said before, I didn't know how they were going to bring Harbour back into the mix, and they did it. So I have full confidence that they will also bring they will give Max the justice that she deserves, whether they decide to keep her alive or to kill her. I think she is just going to die, because there has to be some kind of casualty here throughout everything that has happened. They have lost a lot of people, but I guess that this is one way of, keeping the core group of characters together and then introducing new people, and then just, for them to serve a certain plot line, and then saying, oh, we're done with you here. But we'll see. But overall, we've been talking about all the things that we love and didn't like about the series, but I really did love this season, and I can't wait for season 5. Hopefully, I hope Netflix kind of backtracks and does a weekly for season 5. I mean, considering how it is their biggest property and how it is, it's the final season. Why wouldn't you want this to be drug out as long as you possibly can? Because if if these run times for season 5 are going to be anything like season 4, they definitely need to, at least for this, adopt that weekly situation, or batch episodes where it's like 3 1 week, 3 the next week, and 3 the last week, something of that nature. They've done it before, so we'll see. But a 95 out of 100 from me. And that pretty much concludes our review here of Stranger Things. We were not able to save Jayla from the Upside Down. She did try to reach out to us, but you know, she's I think she was taking it.
Sorry, Mario, but your princess is in another castle.
Exactly. I think she's not even the right side up. She's in like the right down side up or something. I don't know. But yeah, again, Mike, thank you so much for coming on to the show to help us close out this this grand series that is Stranger Things. Let everyone know where they can find you on the internet and what is coming up that you are able to share. Any pieces of work that you're able to share with the listeners out there.
Well, first off, thanks guys for having me. It has been a blast covering this entire season with you guys. It has been incredible. Love the work you guys do here. And I'm just really glad we got to talk about my favorite season of Stranger Things. One thing, Jayla is okay. We put the headphones on her. She's listening to All Right from Supergrass, so that got her free from Becky's curse. So, yay. And you can find me at Novice Cinephile pretty much everywhere. Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. Instagram is The Novice Cinephile because someone sniped my name. Don't know why.
Devin knows a few things about that.
Yeah.
He's Dev Dog everywhere.
But you can also hear my voice and thoughts over at the Amateur Otaku Podcast. As of this recording, I'm about to hop off of here and talk some My Hero Academia with Isaac. So stay tuned for that. We've got some OVAs, some filler episodes coming up next month for My Hero Academia. So the show is kind of back in 30 days.
Oh, man. Was it season 5 now, I think?
Yes. Season 6 is going to be crazy. You're not ready for it. So you can also check out the Chatter After, where Isaac, Brandon, and I review movies bi-weekly. Our upcoming episode is going to be on The Boys and then Blade Runner 2049. So stay tuned for that.
Great duo. Great combo there.
Yeah, that does sound like a really great combo. As for us, what's coming up next on the podcast, you might ask, we have our Thor Love and Thunder review that will be dropping on July 11th. We're also going to be tackling some Solar Opposites Season 3 for you guys as well. So definitely keep a lookout for that. We don't know when that's going to be dropping. So definitely just follow us on Twitter to keep in the know with all that good stuff. And what's out now on our podcast, you might ask. Well, we just finished Stranger Things 4 Volume 2. So our Volume 1 review of Stranger Things 4 is up on the podcast for everybody to listen to, as well as our Miss Marvel Episode 4 review that is out now, and our Umbrella Academy Season 3 review. And that is a spoiler-free review of Umbrella Academy Season 3 for everyone to listen to. So if you have liked what you've heard here on today's episode, please subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform of choice, and make sure to share an episode of the Film Optix podcast with a friend, whether it be your mother, your brother, your lover, whoever it may be. Make sure to share an episode of the Film Optix podcast with a movie lover in need. Again, Michael, thank you so much for coming on. We had such a blast. If Jayla's listening to this, I'm sorry you slept. We couldn't find you in the Upside Down. Apparently, your alarm wasn't going off, but it's all good. We'll definitely have her on the show here soon to talk something else. I don't know. I think she's a big horror fan, right? So maybe something horror related. That would be really fun.
What gave you that impression?
I don't know. She has this podcast called The Last Scare Podcast. Maybe it has something to do with horror. I'm not entirely sure, but that's just a lucky guess. It could be The Last Scar Podcast. They're talking about all these crazy scars they've gotten throughout their life. From kindergarten, falling off of the monkey bars to accidentally slamming their finger in a car door or something like that. The Last Scar. All that stuff. That'd be pretty cool.
Can you imagine if they got Jeremy Irons on as a guest from The Lion King? That'd be amazing.
Oh my gosh. She said, oh no, Mufasa, perhaps you should not turn your back on me. And I was like, oh, Scar coming out here with these.
Perfect movie. Stranger Things is great, you guys. I'm sorry. We derailed that so hard.
So make sure to watch the Stranger Things 4 movie that is out on Netflix, the last 2 episodes. But yeah, so that's going to conclude everything for today. And we hope you guys have a wonderful week. And we'll see you guys later on. And that is a wrap for today. Thank you all for listening. And if you enjoy the show, leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay in the know. That was Devin, Mike. My name is Christian. We'll see you guys in the Upside Down.